So the Steiners were first. And they did the package. And actually, I was reminded of something that I didn't remember until I heard it. Did you hear my audio? And they carefully edited around me with Yoko and with other places, other people. But my audio was in a lot of the Steiners because it was WCW footage, and I was doing the commentary with Jim Ross on a lot of these programs. But did you hear my audio on the interview?
I believe so. I remember you a few times, especially during the Vader one, too.
Well, the one that I make mention of it because I'd forgotten this. The interview that I did with the Steiners on the Clash of Champions, it was, I don't know if it was Fall Brawl, but it was the fall of 1989, was where he first named the Frankensteiner the Frankensteiner.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, of course.
Because you hear me asking, wow, that's a fantastic move you got there. What do you call it? Because I was doing a Louisville Slugger segment with the Steiners that night. Was that earlier the night when we were in Troy, New York? Was it November or was it more like August-ish in Columbia, South Carolina? It was one of the two of those. But nevertheless, I asked him what he called because we had set that up because earlier in the day, I can't remember whether we asked him what he called it or he had come to me and said, hey, what do you think about this? But he came up with it. We're going to call it the Frankensteiner. I said, that's great. I said, so I'll ask you in the interview tonight what you call it. So that was the first time that was mentioned on the air, that they got that little clip. Anyway, and then they bring Braun Breaker out. Now the mystery is over, but I mean, it wasn't any mystery. And now you see, he looks just like him. He looks just fucking like his father and wrestled just like his father. And when he came out, Braun in the suit and, got in the ring and started talking, I closed my eyes and I hear Rick Steiner's voice in the locker room. Not like doing a promo, just his real voice.
It's funny because I heard Scott more than even Rick.
Really?
Yeah, especially because Scott was the first one to get on the mic when the brothers came out. And if you were not looking at the monitor, it sounded like Braun was still on the mic.
Well, I know the quality that Scott has, that Kenny like that in it a little bit, right? But Braun has Rick's cadence and delivery, I think, to me. But they're all close. It's not like the Rick and Scott are not like Dory and Terry. They have resemblances in a variety of places. I noticed that Rick has gone bald, poor fella, but he should have used the keeps. That's a free one. Anyway, he introduced the Steiners. Braun did with the joke about, putting his Uncle Scott on the live microphone, which was great. I'm not sure exactly why that Scott's story about Randy Savage and the cow calling contest made the cut as the best story that he could tell at the Hall of Fame. But then again, sometimes these things just come off the top of Scotty's head. But for Scott, that was a heartfelt speech. And he came out, he didn't have any notes. I saw they did have a teleprompter. I know for a fact there's a teleprompter there. Whether everybody was using it or not, I can't say. Rick pulled notes out of his pocket, and by the time Scott got finished, Scott didn't have any notes, but Rick didn't have any time. He said, thanks for leaving me 1 minute. But he did a nice close. But I would have liked to have seen them go a little longer, just from some of the other things that we got before we got to the main event of the evening. But otherwise, that was a good way to start everything off. Everybody, I think the universal agreement, Steiners belong in any kind of Hall of Fame. So it wasn't a controversial pick, and it helps get one of their biggest new star, the star of the future, over. So I like that segment immensely.
It was really nice to see. Obviously, this was the opportunity to change Braun Breaker's name and officially make him a Steiner, and they decided not to do that.
But at least they acknowledged the relationship, and now it just makes it look all stupider in front of the fans. Well, if he's Rick Steiner's son, why is his name Breaker? But otherwise.
One of my favorite tag teams ever. They were just so dynamic, and I'm really happy to see them get this from WWE. I never thought it would happen. It's weird seeing what I can only describe as a vulnerable Scott Steiner.
Yes. Yeah, because you can tell that he wasn't just jacking off about the whole thing. He was happy to be there and was into it. And that's sort of, genuine.
The only thing I could think was, and I'm sure it wasn't it, but when it first happened, I was like, oh, Scott Steiner on open mic, what would he do? Well, the first thing I'm going to do is talk about the Macho Man. I mean, what way to piss off Vince. But it was nice. It was nice to see them honored. It was nice to see, I realized, because, you hear a lot of fans talk about the WWE Hall of Fame or other Hall of Fames, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame or other Wrestling Hall of Fames. And they'll say, oh, what does it really mean? Who votes for it? It's stupid. It's this and that. But for the guys, it means something. And I think for certain guys, it may hit them that in a way, this is their public goodbye.
Yeah. From
a big stage. So it was nice to see the Steiners for what I assume will be one last time on a national stage.
Well, I can't think that now that they have acknowledged the relationship that they're not going to do something at least with Rick, even if Scott maybe, may not be trustworthy in their eyes or whatever. But they've got to do something with Rick when there's going to be some angle at some point where somebody needs to get heat on Braun without beating that kid up and making him vulnerable. And there comes the dog-faced gremlin to the rescue, I think. They'll be crazy if they don't do it.